Mike,
Yeah.
this is Travis Crowther.
Yes.
Did you happen to grow up in Far West?
My son lives in Far West.
I knew some Galeys when I was growing up, and your son's too young for me.
Yeah.
So,
Well, we all come from one family that started in Kaysville.
okay.
My great grandfather was the Justice of the Peace. He was appointed by Brigham Young and worked with Bishop Kay, who was the bishop. They called it at that time South Hooper before Kaysville came, and then eventually um, my ancestry goes back to the Barneses and the Galeys that were in Kaysville.
Okay.
But my great grandfather at 16 left home because he was tired. There was a polygamous family. He was tired of so many adults telling him what to do. So he came. Yeah, he came. And if you're familiar with Gentile Street, there's a yellow frame home that sells. Now they have bounce houses and other things out there. That was his half brother's home. He came and ran that ranch while he went on a mission with his wife. And then when they came back, he married the wife's sister. And his homestead in Syracuse is on 2000 West and 700 South, where the IHC is now.
Well, I was just wondering, I went to school with a girl, whose name was Gailey, and she was from Far West. I didn't know if you were related
Well, we
closely.
have to be related somehow.
Yeah. Okay.
Hi, Neil.
Hey, how are you?
Good.
I
I
had
went over to buy some rat poison and realized you were retired.
I am. I get over there every once in a while, but I try not to. Hey, Dennis.
How are you, big guy?
I'm good. How are you?
Can't complain a bit.
Good.
Life's pretty good, and I'm doing really good. I got on the meeting tonight. I missed the last three.
I had to get Peggy to help me get on here. Computers and I do not get along.
You don't feel bad, man. I hate these things. They're sweet when they work, but
Most times they don't.
not for me, they don't. Mike's pretty sharp on them, though.
Well, I'm glad somebody is.
Well, we're not going to make any decisions. Let's go ahead and get started. What I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen with you. Because I've put together a little thing that will help us understand the history of the association, what the board does, and everybody should be able to see that. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, we can.
So let's go ahead and start. There may be some that will join us. We're not in a position where we're going to make any decisions tonight, but maybe just come up with some solutions to the problem. This is Hardware Park Mountain Estates. We're in the southeastern corner of of Cache County. I want to watch this for a minute.
And Frank sent us. Did you bring a horse for me? Well, looks like we're shy of one horse. You brought two too many.
I've been involved with Hardware Park Mountain Estates since 1969. I was 19 years old when that happened. What I would like to do is talk about the company that originally owned this. Gail Winterrose and Darrell Tilley were the subdividers that created this the association. Actually, they began in 1962. They didn't start selling until 1969. And the company was known as Empire Enterprises. Now, back in 1989, that company, along with the owners of the company, were sued because of the wrongful death of a couple of boys in what is now not Rogers Cabin. Help me. It used to belong to the Woolies. It was the Tilley's Cabin.
Oh, Russ.
Winterrose?
Yeah. Winterrose had it with Tilley, and the boys suffocated in a deer hunting incident where the vent was covered up with snow. This is a copy of that court order of what happened. So I was instrumental back in 2023. All of the springs were still in the name of the Empire Enterprise Company. And we were going to lose our springs. And so I got involved with Safe Drink Water, Utah Division of Water Rights, and made sure we got those. So ours are in blue or in yellow. But if you see here, the owners and some of the others still around is Empire Enterprises. And so I'm guessing that the government of the association back in the early years was run by Tilley and Winterrose. What I'd like to do is look at our own personal family history with Hardware Park, Mountain Estates. I know, Travis, you told me you bought property in 1970. Well, we bought it a year earlier. This is our lot in 1969. And I'd like to tell you a little bit about that history. In the spring of 1970, my father and mother, this is them in 1970, they walked the property lines with a compass and tore pieces of her blouse off and tied it in trees to know where their property lines were. But my mother was killed in August of that year in an automobile accident, 27th East and 39th South in Salt Lake. My dad had a heart attack, a massive heart attack, 2 months later, and went through open heart surgery in 72. But he was remarried. My little sister was only 5, so my dad remarried quite early. This is Kay, my dad's second wife. But he underwent open heart surgery in 72, and his recovery went into 73. But what you're going to see now is the organization of the association over the years and how it's changed. Back in 1974, my dad was the vice president, and the president was Dan Johnson. And I don't know what the president-elect position was. It was Alice Steed, because the next year she didn't become president, but my dad did. So I'm not sure how that worked. And Dan Johnson, who had been the past president, became a board member. So I'm not sure how all this fits together, but it was really kind of an ad hoc group that was trying to govern the association. When Stuart Vernon became president, my dad went back and became a board member with Sam Fowler and Martin Seifert. Some of you may remember them, but it was still controlled by 4 people, all men. Stuart Vernon was the president. I mean, Alice Steed, was the president. Stuart Vernon became the president-elect, and he would go in the next year as the president, but they formed a 3-member board. Now, the president-elect stopped in 2006 when Mark Willey, who owned Russ Richards' cabin, when he became the president-elect. After 2006, that position of president-elect went away. But this was the time that Farrell Lewis joined the board in 2006. Dan Harrop became the president with a 4-member board, a 5-member board. That change happened because of Farrell Lewis. He wanted a board that was a little bigger. It was hard to get everybody coming, and you can see tonight we were missing some. The chairman of the board was organized in 2014 with Darrell Fowler becoming the first chairman of the board. But then in 2015, Farrell wanted a bigger board. So we now have a 7-member board. Kevin Higley was the chairman of the board in that day. And then where we are today, some of you may know that Farrell died in May. The chairman of the board, but we're kind of broken right now. We're missing a president. Nate volunteered to be the chairman of the board in an emergency meeting that we had in June after Farrell's death. But the ones that are going to be involved in this today are Bruce Peterson from the Roads and Maintenance Committee and Roger McFarland. Roger, you're here because you supervise the work of the development group that's there. Now, having issues between landowners we have a precedent that is the word access has been something we had to work on. What happened with Roger Howell and Roger McFarland and Kevin Higley and their property, we solved that one. Well, there was another one with some property that used to belong to Utah State University, which was originally purchased by a young lady. But she put a gate across her and denied access to another property owner. We resolved that one. We had a time where we had some problems with access behind Harrop's cabin. And there was another one down with Shad Christensen back in this area where the problem was really solved by the landowners, but the association played a part in helping bring that to solution. So we have this problem again tonight, and the association wants to be a vehicle to help solve that. Now, Travis, you provided these pictures, and for the benefit of the board, this is the road we're concerned about off of Quakey Lane. And Travis, thank you for your pictures. It's been helpful to have some things that you've seen. Let's talk a little bit about the Hardware Park easement description, and then we'll look and see which roads in the association are owned by the association or the easement is owned. Our easement is 14 feet wide, but we have interpreted that to mean that there is a 7-foot extension of that where we spray and where we clear timber to get dump trucks down and other things. Utah State, we pay Utah State to come and spray that 7-foot area so it becomes manageable. What we'd like to see it be is become grass over the years. If we were a public road, that easement would be 33 feet. Now, I had a battle with the county this summer The canisters wanted to get a building permit, and they would not issue a building permit until we had a declaration that we were a non-public road. So I called and talked to them and asked them to get the bylaws out, which they have a copy too. And we'll see in just a minute when we release, the CC&Rs, where we declare that we are a non-public road. So that I had to make 2 or 3 calls and talk to 2 or 3 of them before they would issue a permit to the canisters to build a cabin. What I'd like to do is review the CC&Rs, and that's going to take probably a little bit of time to load that. What I'd like to do is go by section 2 of the roadways, just one article at a time, and make sure we understand it. So I'll read it and then ask if there's any questions about what it's saying. An easement is hereby reserved over, on, and through the association for the construction, installation, and continued maintenance, repair, reconstruction, replacement, and removal of such water pipe. Now, we don't have any water pipe, but that may happen someday, so we wanted to put that in there. Electrical distribution lines, we don't have any of that yet, but we put it in there in case it happens. And circuits from time to time may necessary to serve water, electric installations located within the boundaries of Hardware Park Mountain Estates. So it's just like the parking strip on your house. There is an easement across there. You can use it, but the associate maintains the right to be able to work in that easement, which is mostly our roads. 2.2 says association road wage, original roads and rights of way having already been established within the association are jointly owned and maintained by the association. I'm going to show you a few maps of what those right of ways are, what those original roads were. And I'm going to show you that the original map is it was done in 1962. And I'll show you a copy of that. 2.21, member lot owner rights and unrestricted right-of-way. Each member lot owner in good standing, his immediate family and guests, have a perpetual easement and right to travel all established association roadways. So nobody can throw a gate on one of those original right-of-ways and deny anyone access to it. This is 2.1.1, ingress and egress rights. Member lot owners, their immediate family, and all guests shall gain vehicular access to the association properties only through security gates owned and maintained by Hardware Park Mountain Estates. That's an agreement we have between each other that we won't come in to the property any other way than one of 3 gates that the association maintains. Okay, let me move this up here. Respect for others. All recreational vehicle travel is to remain on association roads. Travel on private roads may be restricted by member lot owners. Now, we had a situation, we had a landowner 2 years ago that had a side-by-side that had great climbing ability, was running over everyone's property on the north end of the property. We declared that a nuisance, and we met in a private hearing with him and corrected that. He was fined and also was required to do some work to restore what he had done to the other people's property. Recreational off-road travel is prohibited within the association boundaries. So that was what he was guilty of. Vehicular and ATV travel, member lot owners, their immediate family and guests shall cease all recreational travel on roadways during quiet time hours. Now, quiet time hours are defined in the bylaws. They're right at the very beginning of that, and that is from 11 till 7 in the morning. That we don't expect people to be out riding the roads. Vehicular and ATV safety, member lot owners, their immediate families and guests shall maintain prudent, safe, and controllable speeds on all association roads, but at no time shall speeds exceed 15 miles per hour. And that was those signs have been placed by Dennis at the gates, so everybody knows right from the very beginning that we need to drive safely on those. Altered vehicles, ATVs, vehicles and ATVs that have been modified with equipment that will damage association roadways are prohibited from use. We put that in there just to make sure that we weren't damaging the roads with the ATVs that we're using up there. Sound levels, vehicles and ATVs that generate sound levels greater than 85 decibels at the operator position are prohibited. Now, this one, if you look down there, this was changed in March of 2020 at a general business meeting. In order to change bylaws or the CC&Rs, it requires a majority vote of the whole quorum of members, and that can only happen in March. So in 2020, we added this. The parking of vehicles along home hardware park maintained easements. The parking of all vehicles, whether car, truck, bike, recreational nuisance violation by the landowner and said owner shall be subject to penalty under Article 14 of the bylaws. Construction or maintenance vehicles are exempt, but arrangements can be made in advance with the road and maintenance committee and roadways blocked only under its direction that of the president. And so there are special circumstances when things can block the road temporarily while construction is being done somewhere, or the president can order that for one reason or another. 2021-9 is reserved to do any additions that we need to do. 22.2.2 roadway maintenance and Cache County. The county does not own nor is obligated to improve or maintain any association-owned right-of-way. And that's the one I pointed the county to, that we had already declared that, and they just read our CC&Rs, they wouldn't have denied that building permit. Now let's talk a little bit about new construction. Pre-construction review and approval, all changes or additions of roadways contained within the association shall be reviewed by the Planning and Development Committee and approved by a vote of the quorum of the board. So if we're going to make any changes to a road, or if somebody wanted to build a road, that would need to go to the Planning Committee and they would discuss it, and then that would be back to the board, and a vote of the board would have to approve it. So any new changes in roads, if somebody wants to build a private road, that needs to come to the Development Committee and then eventually be voted on by the board. Site plan.
So like a private driveway?
Yes, a private driveway would have to go before the Planning Committee, and then they would bring it to the board, and it would have to be acted upon by a vote of the quorum of the board, a majority.
Okay.
So 3.11 plan requirement, a site plan for any additions to roadways shall be submitted to the Planning and Development Committee for review. So that would require a drawing by those petitioning to be able to build a private road. Post-construction review, after it has been built, the members of the Planning Committee will need to review it by order of the board as a construction requirement. So after it's built, it needs to be accepted by the Planning Committee and presented to the board. Now this particular, there's 3.3 is set there just to reserve so that we needed to make some changes to it. Now what I've done is I've gone back to the county and looked for the earliest map that I can find of our association property. And if you go to the parcel and lot thing there's over on the right-hand side, there is a place where you can check a subdivision plat. And if you notice, the earliest subdivision plat is in the year of 1962. So they were planning this in the early 60s, but I think lots didn't go on sale to 69. They were doing all of the preliminary work. So this is that plat. It's available online. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to blow up the area that we're concerned about. Roadways that existed in 1962 or were planned are double dashed lines. So I'm going to highlight them. Here's one. This is Rock Canyon. And then this one coming down here is Quakey Lane. And if you notice, I'm going to put the names of the landowners today that are in those. If you notice here that the Loveless Loop, what we commonly call the Y, was not part of the original plat. And so there is a gate in front of that, which is appropriate because Lovelaces and Bensons have worked out together with themselves. And so that road is blocked out, but that means it will never be now maintained by the association. Now, one of the things that we need to do is understand that we're talking about these lots, the Crowthers, the Taylors, and the Wests. For those of us who have some memory, this is Betty Dunn's property down here, and the West. It's changed hands a couple of times in the West. Now own it, and Brandon, you told me that you have permission from the West to put a gate across that road.
That's correct. Yeah, because
Right.
We don't have a gate.
it's not a gate. It's basically a chain across
Chain across.
2 poles, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, but what that chain is doing is it's blocking access to any further beyond that point. Okay, now this map is in 2023. Now, I wasn't around when the one in 62 was developed. I was 12 years old. But in 2023, I remember this being commissioned by the board. I was the secretary at that time. And I want you to notice that the association roads are in orange here. Okay, so let me put those in darker oranges where we can see them. And if you notice, I put a question mark up here on the one going to Lovelace's cabin because it should not be an association road. This is a mistake because it does not agree with the original plat. That was not the idea that was going on there. So today, what we're talking about, what I'd like to do is talk to you about changes in the road structures since 1962. Okay. I remember back in the 60s, in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, the Middle Gate Road used to go up that canyon. But in 2011, we had a tremendous snowfall that year, and it washed that road out completely. So Farrell, who was president at that time, got with Byram's, and we moved the road up on the hill so that it would be easier to be maintained. That is one change to the original roadway since 1962. That was all done legally and with the permission, written permission of the Byrams, because it was on Byram property before. We just moved it higher where it was easier to maintain, and it also helped them back when they were running sheep to have that road a little higher. The other place is here across Bald Mountain. The property owners complained all the time that they couldn't get into their property as earlier as some because of a huge snowdrift that was across the top of Bald Mountain. So we negotiated with the landowners down there, and we moved that road down on the western face, and that's been a great improvement. People can access that property. The only other time roads have been altered is down here where we call it the Snake. It's just north of the gravel pit or the shale pit, and that has been widened, and the switchbacks more gentle and not so steep as they were. So the only changes in the maps since 1962 authorized by the board are these three places that are here. I will mention back in 2011, the association also did a lot of work on the road between Ant Flat and the first gate, and the roads leading to the other gates. We used to maintain the north gate, but we had a hard time getting River Birch to participate in that. That's their only access. And so, as I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, Roger and Bruce, we don't do much on that north road anymore because we can't get them to participate in it. So let's talk.
That's correct.
Is that correct?
That's
Okay,
correct.
This is a drawing of the plat as it is today. So let me do this. Let me put Rock Canyon Road here, and we'll put Quakey Lane here. And I've got in green here the one that crosses Benson's and Lovelace's cabin, because remember, it was in 2003, it was considered an association road. But by the definition of what an original road was, it is not, and it has now been gated. So we will no longer be working on helping to preserve that road. What we're talking about today is a access road that the Crowthers have been using. And Travis, you said you bought that property in 1970?
Yes, I believe it was.
Yeah, 1970. He has been using that as an access point to his property since 1970. But as you can see, it was never an association road, never declared that. So it's not on the original map as an association road.
Mike,
Yes.
when I purchased the property, they told me that they tried to run an access road to each property where possible, and a road through each property. And that was to be my access road, and they had cut back in about 300 feet onto my property
Yeah.
originally. And so I've been using it ever since.
And it was done by the association?
Yeah,
Okay.
before I purchased the property.
That's good to know. I know too, if you're up here on Lovelace's, my dad told me that they made a decision at the time they were cutting these roads in. My dad was on the CAT cutting the roads. He said they had made a decision at the time to come across Lovelace's property, and they had that road all cut, but there's a deep, deep ravine there that wouldn't let them go across it to come to the upper end of our property and the other property, which was, at that time, it was Wingreens that owned where Jones's is and where my son owns the cabin now. So they decided to go back and follow the plat and come down into our property, crossing Benson's, Lovelace's, ours, and the property that my son now owns. So that's why Lovelace's, that road is up there, and the association did cut it. But once they got over there, they realized it was not a good way. So, but we've got, as a board, we've got to remember that road is not part of the original. Now, our topic of discussion is the trailer that Brandon and his wife have placed here, and these pictures are provided by the Crowthers for some of us who haven't been up there to understand what the issue is. There is a trailer and a deck that's been built there. Here's the deck and the trailer, and it's now blocking that road, which was originally cut by the association to give access to them. Now, Cache County has a building code, and board, we've got some changes that we've got to make. I called the county building department, and I got some new information that we need to be aware of. But requirements for Cache County for any permanent structure has need of a building permit. So I asked her today, does that include a deck? And she says, yes, legally, we require anything that is permanent. If it's removable, then no, they don't have to do that. Now, currently, the county setbacks from property lines and any roadway is 50 feet. So that deck should have been moved 50 feet off of that road if it were an association road. That's what we need to decide tonight.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Mike, and that county is off of public roadways and not private
Yeah,
right of ways.
yeah, yeah. So it would be anything that was an association road. Because
Which this is not.
Which clearly you just mentioned that it's that was not an
Right.
association
Right.
road.
right.
Right.
Okay, so but board, we've got something to look at because our bylaws say 40 and 30. So we've got to change that to come in harmony with the county on our roads. 40 and 30 are not going to work anymore. They're requiring 50 and 50 feet from a boundary for any permanent
So the
street.
county changed that,
Yes,
and
It's
private not, or previous roads are not grandfathered in.
no,
It's not just for new roads.
no, they are grandfather. They are grandfathered in. They don't have to change.
Okay.
But if you were to do some board, if we had somebody that came in and wanted to build a cabin, they would have to be 50 feet from any roadway that is an association roadway, and they would have to be 50 feet from the property boundary. Now, let me. Is Kevin here?
No, Kevin
Okay.
said he could not be here.
Okay, but Roger, you and Neil are here. Kevin gave me this statement this morning that Brandon spoke with him July of 2023, showed him plans of a deck on lot 2527, were submitted and approved for construction, with comments to follow all Hardware Park Mountain Estates CC&Rs and bylaws, setbacks, side yards, drainage, and easements. So that was his statement. He had a prior commitment, wasn't sure whether he was going to be here, but he said to me that Neil, you and Roger would agree with that.
Yeah, we always tell them when they want to do something new that you've got to make sure you're within your boundaries by so far and off the roads by so far. That's something we always tell
Yeah.
them.
Now there is another issue. It's right here, and I mentioned this to you, Brandon, is the water tank. And you mentioned that you would probably be changing this.
Yes, yeah, because that's on Quakey Lane, which I
Right.
understand the easement
Right.
on that, and so
Right.
I have no issue relocating that on
And
my
for the
property.
benefit of the board, that you can see that water tank on Quakey Lane up here providing gravity fed water
Correct.
to the trailer. Now, I've looked at this, and it seems to me that we have a couple of things we need to be concerned about. Is we cannot park a trailer, fifth wheel, that water trailer is out of compliance with 2.2.1.8. So, and you've agreed you're going to move that. Well,
Right. Which I have no issue moving that water trailer like I just mentioned, so.
Yeah. Now, where we're a little sketchy, and let me tell you about it, is the board never saw a site plan for your deck. And if you look at it down on 3.1, it requires a vote of a quorum of the board to accept that site plan. So I don't know, somewhere we kind of, I went back through the minutes. I know personally that for about 10 years, there was 10 years of history since 1974, where we lost a whole bunch of minutes and records because the secretary at that time left the association and didn't get them to the next secretary. So there are about 10 years where we don't have any. This is what I have. I have these 3 volumes, and they are basically of beginning in 2000. I don't know what happened in 1990. I bought the property from my dad in 1994. I've served as the president of the association. And then in 2003, I always want to be involved in the management of the association. I want to do my part. I volunteered to be the secretary and provide all the minutes, the agendas and things that are there. But these things didn't have really much in them except for what we replaced the newsletter with in 2000 is with a website that I maintain and the minutes that I do. Now, this is a copy of the minutes. The minutes are posted on the website 2 weeks after we have the board meeting. I send it out immediately to the board for corrections. And if I get some, I change them. If not, I then put them out on the website with a link to those minutes. This is the last meeting that Farrell attended. You can see his picture in there. So we got a problem. We have no paper trail board. This was okayed verbally by Farrell and Roger and Neil, but we have no. It never came to the board or any kind of approval from the board. Now, what I would like to suggest we do is our role as the board, and mine is to help landowners resolve issues. So we don't want to walk away from that. But what I'd like to do is now take some position statements. Let's start with Travis, and then Brandon, if you'd go after him, and then let's have a discussion from the development committee. And I'm going to quit sharing so we can see each other's faces and just talk. So Travis, if you talk a little bit about what your issue is and what you might think is a good resolution of this, then Brandon, if you would, and then Roger and Neil, there are other board members here that can help. Wes, it's good to see you here. Let's take a minute. Let me introduce everybody that's here. On my screen, up in the upper left-hand corner is Dennis Kendrick. Dennis is responsible for security and emergency preparedness. Recently, Farrell suggested we combine those two things together. I'm right here. Travis is in that upper right-hand window. Brandon and Jody are together. Neil is right there in the middle. Rick Patterson is a board member. He's over hunting. Wes is our water master and spends a lot of time maintaining our springs that are there. Very grateful to him. We had a major problem with water flow at the South Spring, and he managed that by himself. And then Roger is on his phone. Where are you walking, Roger?
Well, I just got back from Central Utah, and I'm in my. I'm just walking around my house now.
Oh, good. Oh, good. Now we're missing Kim, but we got a board. We've got a board, so we're fine. Yeah, we got 4 of you. So let's start with Travis. And Travis, will you tell us what your issues are and maybe what you see as a solution?
Well, I don't know if I've got a solution without upsetting some people, but I guess my issue is that I've been using that access for over half a century, and every property owner before, if they pulled a trailer up there, they always pulled it off the road so I could get by. And I know that we go through three other properties before we get to Brandon's property. You know, and no one has ever put up a gate or anything across there. And when I purchased the property, like I mentioned, they told me that that was my access to my property. And I took a picture of that so you can see where it cuts through the property line there. And if you look at that one, you can see where the roadway turns. And I think Brandon had said that it was a dead end and it was just weeds, but you can actually see where the roadway goes. I've had some health issues and I haven't been able to get up there. But the main reason I haven't sent the boys up is to do anything is we had missed the large Quakies here a few years ago, and when I've been up a few times, they're just growing back, and now it's getting to the point where they're getting fairly tall, and so we had planned on going up and clearing off the road in and cutting down. There's a half a dozen big Quakies who would have to cut with chainsaws. The rest we could probably just drive over or take a skid steer and run down it and clear off the weeds. But let's see. The other thing, somebody had, I think Brandon had said to Jared, well, why don't you just cut a road down from up above? And one of my issues with that is that how steep it would be to where we would want to, where we've camped and have a fire ring and that kind of thing in the past. So I don't know, maybe somebody's got a better solution than I do, but maybe I'll have some comments after Brandon and you guys are done.
Okay, thank you, Travis. Brandon?
Okay, yeah, I just, first of all, I'd like to, say thanks for inviting me to this meeting. I appreciate the efforts by the association board members to invite me to this to come up with a resolution. It's nice to meet you guys. I know a few of you. Roger, I've known from working Wheelwright Lumber. He comes in the store off and on. I've seen him talk to Rick on hunting permits. So it's nice to put a face to a name. And also Kevin Higley, he's not here, but I know Kevin quite well as some of the Harrops. That's kind of why with some of the people I know is kind of interest me in buying the property. So I basically got summed up in three different arguments here. And I would just, I'm not here to ruffle any feathers. I'm not here to disrespect anybody or to make any enemies whatsoever. I'm committed to come up with a resolution myself, but also as being within my rights of a property owner, landowner, moving forward. So in my three different arguments that I put together with, first and foremost, is, and just hear me out, and then you guys, we can respond afterwards, as Travis wasn't interrupted on his talk as well. So first of all, was there an established binding legal document of the easement agreement? Was this, when was it established? Is it recorded by the Cache County Recorder's Office? And if so, does it, what is the scope of the agreement? Meaning, what allowable uses, what's the size, what's the precise location of the right-of-way? Is it limited? Is it temporary or permanent? So also it was with previous landowners buying and selling the lots with this easement, was all the parties notified, both in past and present, with the agreement in writing, with the terms of the easement agreement. When I purchased the property back in 2021, there was no mention of providing an easement or right-of-way to Mr. Crowther's property. There's nothing in the deed, in my deed, that states that. I have a deeded easement that breaks off of Carson West, that's recorded with the Cache County Recording Office, and nowhere does it state that it continues on to Mr. Crowther's property. My second argument is whether there's an easement agreement or not, there's a claim of abandonment of easement. According to Utah state law, 15 years or more of non-use and non-activity is a claim for abandonment. In this case, the serving estate, Mr. Crowther's property, has failed to maintain the use of the easement, has not provided any costs or efforts to maintain easement, which the servient property by law is required to do so. Therefore, in a case of an abandonment, the agreement is terminated if there was a legal binding document of the easement agreement. My third one is back when I purchased the property, I had some visions of what I would like to do to it. And obviously this portion where my trailer and my deck is built is the most shaded spot of my property. And with a little excavation and everything, I had big high hopes to make it more enjoyable and provide a deck coming off a trailer. So therefore, in 2022, I approached Kevin as he's a member of the Planning and Development Committee. I approached him and mentioned I want to do some widening of this easement of mine, that I provided all the necessary documents, the aerial views, location, everything was submitted back in 2022. The committee reviewed it and approved the green light to do so. So I had equipment come in and excavate, widen, customize it the way I need to. As I mentioned to Kevin, the following year I would like to build a deck and be able to have my trailer parked on this as well. So then the following year in 2023, I informed the association planning committee again, mainly Kevin Higley and Roger. I submitted again the proper paperwork needed, the aerial views, the exact location of the deck, the size of the deck, the construction of the deck, construction plans, everything that needed to be submitted to both the county and the planning committee to do so. They reviewed it, seen no issue with any interference with any easements or anything, as this easement that I approached them with is 100% where my deck and trailer is currently is on my property. Therefore, they gave me the green light to build and construct the deck. And so therefore I did. After construction, I mentioned Kevin, I was done. He came and inspected the construction of the deck as well as the location and reviewed it and went back to the committee, and everybody signed off on this deck that is a 16 by 16 Trex deck with railing. So the committee pretty much agreed with me to an extent to where the area views clearly show where you can look on the Cache County partial viewer, bird's eye view, the aerial view of it, as the lines I know are not accurate on there, but from where my property, where I have been doing the excavation to where my trailer is now, nowhere beyond that shows any use at all for plenty of years. And I printed out some papers of aerial views off of Google Earth dating back to 2011, which is the 15th year. There's prior to that even more views than that, but from 2011, it's shown that there has actually has been no activity and no maintenance done, no easement used, or no activity period on beyond my property. Therefore, with the erosion and the overgrowth of plant life and trees, shrubs, you name it, therefore almost diminished the road if Mr. Crowther says that he was using. So in conclusion, I've spent over $15,000 constructing this deck and paying for excavation and railing and everything to improve and maintain the easement to customize it to my property to make it more enjoyable. Nowhere in purchasing my lot 4 years ago was ever mentioned of a document stating an easement must be provided to the Crowther property. That being said, Mr. Crowther's property is not landlocked. It has Quakey Lane, as you can see in the aerial views, running directly right through the center of his property. Therefore, you can access it right or left, meaning west or east of Quakey Lane to provide access. Also, as it forks, there's also two different roads, but Mike explained obviously that fork is no longer an association, so the Quakey Lane basically continues to the west there. So with the two different locations of access points, basically east or west of Quakey Lane, that Mr. Crowther could use to get to his property, if he feel like that's not ideal, my personal opinion, the lot to his north, which is owned by the Bensons, his lot access seems to be the flattest part of Quakey Lane. As you go up there, it flattens out on Mr. Benson's property off of Quakey Lane. If there was some type of agreement he could work out with Mr. Benson, as he does not have permanent structure on his property, nor does Mr. Crowther have a permanent structure. Therefore, maybe an agreement they can work out where he could drive completely right off of Quakey Lane through Mr. Benson's property, which is the flattest part, where he would not have to do any excavation whatsoever, as the elevation does not start to decline until midway through his property. So that would be my solution, is an access point. If it was me in Mr. Crowther's shoes, I would approach Mr. Benson and with that possibility of, hey, can I come up with some type of agreement to access this? As I've been hunting, there've been plenty of places to turn around where I'm talking about that's flatter area. There's been actually people with RVs that have turned around in that area because it goes way back into Mr. Crowther's property off of Quakey Lane, and therefore it does not need any excavation, as it's flat as possible. So that would be my solution and stuff. But from my standpoint, I do have a permanent structure that was approved by the committee, by the association. There was no document provided to the association committee that infringed on any easements to any other property. And so that's why they approved me, because I looked at it the same exact way. Not to mention this easement that we're talking about in question technically goes across 4 properties, with Carson West, and then around the corner on it, I call it 4 corners, as it's has Lance Gardner, the Lewises, as well as my property. So I quite don't understand why this is the only access to the Crowther property, going across 3 or 4 different properties to get to one property where his land is not landlocked at all, where he can access it directly from the Quakey Lane, or from maybe accessing up through the Bensons and just have one property and not multiple properties involved with this easement. I understand, things in the past have been used for quite some years and stuff, but as you know, as new landowners and new things innovate and times change, things aren't always what they seem all the time. And like I said, I totally respect the landowners that have owned property in here. And like I say, I'm not looking to ruffle any feathers or to create chaos of any kind whatsoever. But like I said, being how I have a permanent structure on this easeway, and I've invested over $15,000 and well within my rights with the committee providing documentation and having everything signed off, I feel I'm well within my means of denying access to this, to Mr. Crowther, as there's other solutions that can be made with other access points. And so that's where I sit on this matter.
Thank you. Roger and Neil?
I know Kevin sent me some pictures of Jody's deck and stuff. And yes, he did send that to the committee. I know we looked at it, and everything looked good as far as what we could tell. So yeah, we did sign off on it and say that's good to go. I think one of the problems we have up there is a lot of good old boy agreements where previous landowners have given the okay to do things, but there's nothing in writing. And I think that's maybe the issue here. What's to say what's right and wrong, I don't know. But if there is another access, it might be nicer for them to have their own access and not be bothered to go through 4 or 5 different properties. So that's kind of where I sit. What about you, Roger?
Your mic is muted, Roger.
Is that better?
Yep.
Okay, I'm sitting down now. In July of 23, we've got paperwork that shows that this situation of wanting permission and so forth. I believe it was July. Anyway, it's as stated that we did give permission and so forth because it looked like it was within the requirements of the property lines. And that's what we studied, and that's what we came to a conclusion that this would work. I don't have a recollection, or maybe it's because of my age, I don't know. But I don't have the recollection of all the details unless it's written down. So, but generally, we make sure that it's within the property, within the required distance from the property line, and we try to make sure that that both parties are not infringing upon each other. But it looks like we still have an issue here. So I don't know what the solution is. I don't have a solution other than what Neil just stated, and I agree with that.
Okay, let me talk. You can. Is it on?
Yeah, it's on. Wait, one second. Monitoring and stuff.
Go ahead, Travis.
We've also spent a lot of money, well, over $1,000
No, yeah.
in excavation to go around that corner where it goes through the property line to get around that corner so that we didn't have to back up and get around there. And then up in the top, we made a circle so you could drive around. We always wanted it to be secluded up in there so that that's why I didn't do anything to improve the road so much. Brandon says that the only place that he can get access to trees is not true. He can do it above Quakey Lane. He's got a whole bunch of trees there. I
also used it to.
Pardon?
So, and I personally, I'm Travis's son. I personally and my other siblings, we have used this. It has, I mean, the last couple of years with my dad's help and stuff, we haven't, but I've been using it.
2 years ago.
Yeah, my sister was up there just a couple of years ago. I moved back from Hawaii in 2016. I've used it with my family multiple times since then. Jake Stewart, the landowner previously, he owned it before Brandon. He knew I used it. He always kept his trailer to the side because he always said he knew that was an access. And so, I mean, it's not true what Brandon's saying that we haven't used it in 15 years or whatever. We have. We just.
I personally have parked my trailer ever since I bought it on that property every year.
3 years.
For the last 4 years that I've owned it, and the trailer's been there. And if that's what you were saying, that your sister has been there, there was no mention of any blocking of any kind because my trailer's been there
year
for 4
round?
years.
Yes.
Yeah.
You've left it there year round?
Not year round, but I've left it there most of the summer, which, if that's what you're referring to as far as camping goes, is usually done in the summer months. So, but if you've accessed it in the winter, then so be it. But I also know the Ford Stewart, who owned the property beforehand. He has a big fifth wheel trailer, and I have pictures of where he's parked his fifth wheel trailer on it. And this at the time was not nowhere near wide enough to move it to one side or the other. Before I had to excavate, that's why I had to spend money, $5,000 worth of excavation work to widen the easement, and not to mention the roundabout you're talking about above. That is on my property, and that roundabout basically with dead ends right up my property line, and you have a straight line or straight road, is what you're saying, going, where if you have a trailer or whatever or a vehicle, you have to park straight on. And if you go to back out, that would be on my property line, which is the roundabout that you're talking about. But that was not flattened out until this year that I was spent money to do so.
So I've been going up there, like even clear back in high school 20 something years ago, and turning around on our property. There is a turnaround up there. I can still turn around up in there.
Can still see it.
You clearly can't see it from the aerial views. Even to this day, you cannot see any of the aerial as it's been overgrown. Trees are laid down. There's deadfall left and right. So like you say, it's clearly been abandoned for quite some time as use of the property, let alone the easement. And I understand, like I said, I respect, the use that you've had for so many years, and I totally understand that and respect it for sure. But just like mentioned, a lot of these are good old boy agreements, and unfortunately, when new landowners purchase, like I do, everything has to be done legally and documented, and make sure all your I's are dotted and T's are crossed. And because guys like me that only owned the property for 4 years don't know all the history, and I appreciate Mike for putting together this presentation of the history of that was quite informative for sure. But we have to rely on what our visions we want to develop our property to what we want to do to make it personal. And unfortunately, yeah, it may infringe on what the good old boys used to have. But when there's new things that need to be done and new landowners that have different needs and wants, then, like I say, that's why we're all here, is because we have to find a new way now. I clearly suggested the other points of access, as your land is not landlocked. I know it's not what you used to do 30 years, 50 years ago or better, but doesn't mean that this new access or anything can't be provided. As I spent money excavating my property and excavating the easement that I have and widen it and everything, just like any other landowner in the association, I'm sure has provided costs to excavate and to run machinery across their easement as well. And I don't think Mr. Crowther's exempt from that. If he has spent $1,000 in 50 years to maintain that, that's great. But obviously the cost of excavation and renting machinery or hiring it out is quite sufficiently higher than that. And therefore I feel if there's not an agreement worked out with Mr. Benson, which that's what I would do, like I say, there is another access point off of Quakey Lane that I'm sure the association can approve where you can pay your own excavation costs to do so. Just like in every other landowner and association has had to pay their, due diligence, so.
Let me do this. I think we understand the issue now well enough. We've had opportunities to hear from both sides. I regret that we don't have a quorum of the board here. We only have 3 members of the board, so a judgment and a final decision on that is probably not going to happen tonight. What I would like to do is, though, to get the feeling of the board members here of what you think that the next action ought to be. So can I start with you, Dennis? After listening to this, what do you think is the solution?
Well, the way I see it, one way you're going over 4 people's grounds, another way you're only going over 1. I've got a couple places up there that I've give permission for somebody to go cut across the corner or, do things to get access where they want to put a trailer and stuff. And it worked out all right. But it's hard to say either way, but I'm kind of leaning towards Mr. Taylor's side because Mr. Crowler's going over 4 different properties to get to 1. And I can think that maybe going over 1 property to get to 1 might be a better solution. But I would have to look at the lay of the land and everything else before I could really say yes or no to that. But that's kind of where I'm at.
Okay, Rick?
Is there or is there not a recorded document in the county? This easement, I'm going to say, is that recorded?
What the only thing that's recorded is Quakey Lane, and
which is the association road.
Association roads, and
yes,
by definition, the association needs to be able to allow reasonable access to every lot.
And we do that.
Yeah,
with our association road.
Here is the exception.
Okay.
If the decision by the planning group is to allow the Taylors to maintain what they've got, now the association has not provided an access to the Crowthers. There is a road there, but there's no access provided to it. So,
but the Quake Lane runs through Crowther's property. Is that right?
It does, but there's no access.
Does have access.
There's no access cut. The association is responsible to provide access, not just a road, but an access. So,
but what now? What do you mean there? Like an open the
road? Yeah.
Okay.
We would need to discuss as a board where is the most convenient place to provide him with access. It's been mentioned that maybe the Bensons. I think maybe this needs some further study, but I think, Roger, tell me what you feel.
Well,
I'm not finished yet.
Okay, go ahead.
Sorry, Roger. I guess I'm not perfectly clear on the access. Our road, our association road, goes through Taylor's and Crowthers, and to me, we're providing access. I don't know that we have to make a little L off from our road that we're responsible for that. And correct me if I'm wrong. I think we've provided access through both of these properties already, and I'm going to say Taylor's driveway into his place. That's a private road on his lot. Crowthers do have access from the road going through their property, and I'm more of the idea that cutting through one property with an agreement is a lot more feasible than going through 3 different places to get to your place out on the end. If it can be done through one property, and it sounds like it's a pretty nice terrain access, flatter access above. So that's the way I lean on this right now.
Okay. Roger?
Well, I kind of follow the same reasoning in that we provide the association road, but we're not involved in doing private roads or whatever, other than to make sure they don't impede on neighbors or upon the association roads. So I don't think that the private roads, we need to make a ruling on that, other than they just have to follow some rules and not impede on anyone else or our association. So that's part of it. The rest of that is deciding between the two property owners where to do this or what's going on. That actually becomes, in my opinion, an issue between property owners. It's not for the association to decide anything on private land.
Who should approach Mr. Benson about providing access to the Crowthers?
Crowthers.
Yeah, that's if I have a neighbor next to my home and I've got my property, it's not the city's decision to make how I cross his property to get to mine. It becomes an issue between two property owners, and I don't think we should get involved in that part of it. Now, as far as the association road and providing the access, the association roads to those properties, yeah, we have some issues there. But of course, as the construction committee, development committee, we have to make sure that the bylaws and the county rules are followed, the codes, and so forth. And that's where we get involved.
Are you okay, you and Neil, okay with the Crowthers gaining access to their property anywhere along the road where Quakey Lane, where it crosses their property? Can they do it anywhere, or would you like to help direct where that goes?
Well, yeah. Excuse me. I'm sorry. Anyway, I think our position as the development committee is to have it brought to us where they would like to put those private roads off of the association road, and then we make a ruling based on how it affects our road. How it affects another neighbor, I don't feel that's our responsibility.
May
agree with Roger.
may I just, Matt, add something to that? Excuse me there.
Sure.
I understand that, like what Mike was saying about the homeowner association is supposed to provide an easement to each lot, where clearly if used toward the association, that's not entirely accurate with every lot, because there isn't access to every single lot. I was talking with Kevin Higley, and he basically is in the same agreement with that. Also, in this manner, if say there was an access point off of Quakey Lane that Mr. Crowther would like to do, me as a property owner, just as with everybody else in the association, as we pay our HOA fees to maintain the road, to provide water and other maintenance to roads, I don't feel that would be appropriate funds to provide excavation to make things better for Crowther, where he could clearly post his own funds to do so. Like Roger said, he could approve it off, the planning commission or committee could approve it off of what point of Quakey Lane, if that's the direction he wants to go. But as far as the funding goes, I would dare say you would have to have a vote on the association members, as I'm not sure we would like to post those funds to provide access on a private property.
Well, if the road already, if the association road already, excuse me, if the association road already runs across someone's property,
That's
There's
good.
there's nothing we can do to add any more to that. You take your access road to your cabin from that, association road. It crosses everybody's property, an association road.
You can talk to
So
And now,
my-
if you're talking about now, see where Kevin and I have our cabin, we actually enter a gate that the neighbor put up. We drive across his property to get to our cabin, and that's been that way since 1967, I believe. But anyway, there's no problem there.
The same as ours.
And Roger, do you have that in writing somewhere?
As far as what?
That you have an access
Easement.
through someone's
easement?
property? Yeah, an easement.
I believe there might be some records on that. Yes.
Okay, because I think that's probably one of the most important things to do is to get that easement on record, and then
Yep.
everybody knows where that is.
Mike, can I say something?
Yes.
Why would you let Brandon go through 3 other properties to get to his when he has access off of Quakey Lane as well? He could cut a road down right off of Quakey Lane and not access through other people's property.
My access is actually deeded in my deed, and it is actually recorded with the recorder's office as a legal binding document that states that I have a clear right of way on that, and so I can provide that legal document with the recording office, and that's why.
One of my other concerns too is Brandon has said that he did this the legal and right way. I went and talked with the county. There was no building permit, no land use permit, and no inspections on that deck ever. And by law, and he knows this in his industry, you have to have a building permit and land use permit from the county.
I did submit consult the Planning Commission of Cache County when I did it, as well as the committee for the association here, explaining what I was doing. And it is pretty much where the size depends on the size of the structure. So
200
much
square feet is the law.
So many square feet has to have but this is in a developed neighborhood where there's public roads and everything. And clearly this is in a wilderness area. 100% on private property where there is nothing, and they said you don't need to get a permit on this size of structure as it's close to the ground, if not ground level. And looking at the plans that I approached the Planning Commission on, they pretty much laughed it off and said you don't need to do anything with this. So
when I went to the county this week, they said anything 200 square feet or bigger automatically has to, or if it's over 30 inches above ground.
In a public developed area.
I told them where it was at. They knew exactly where we were talking.
Yeah.
Can I suggest something? Can I suggest something here?
Yeah.
I would say that you to make sure that everything is on paper, I would go back to the county and have them put that in writing and get everything documented as to what you're saying.
Well, absolutely. But regardless of whether or not the deck has a permit on it or not.
Well, that's what they could state on this paperwork, that it doesn't need a permit. In other words, you have something to back up. We don't want to get it. We don't want to get into this good old boys type of stuff again, where it's just hearsay.
Absolutely. And so with the building permit being somewhat a verbal from the county, is irrelevant due to the easement agreement that's not even recorded with the county. So therefore, it's it's relinquished, despite the good old boy agreement back in 1970 and beyond.
Right.
Because I clearly have a recorded document as I purchased the land 4 years ago and deeded into my parcel, and so I have that in writing.
And as far as the deck construction and so forth, I mean, this is not an issue, of course, for me or anyone else to decide. Whether you got a permit, it's up to the county. Being in construction over many years, I've learned the hard way to get everything in writing, everything approved or not approved, whether it's a piece of toilet paper with somebody's signature on it or an official document. It doesn't have to be a permit if they're saying so. But I would certainly, I'm just recommending that everything be in writing. And then
Oh, absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Roger's been in the business just as long as I have. I've been in my industry for 30 plus years of building. And, there's certain things that inspectors are critical on, and there's other times where they laugh it off or they say, yeah, you don't need one, you're good type thing. And clearly that goes on to this day. I have builders and contractors left and right that, and then there's plenty of homeowners that don't pull permits to finish their basement, which they're required to. And so I think we can all agree on, with this being in the middle of the wilderness, away from public, that's why we're in the gated community. Not to mention it is built to code, or the committee wouldn't have approved it to begin with.
Regardless of whether it was built to code, same with a basement that a homeowner does, the county specifically knew it was in the wilderness, and they told me anything over 200 square feet, and you are 256 square feet. So you did not go by code or law.
Okay,
Yeah, six square feet over. I'm pretty sure that they'll let that slide with the location of where it's at and stuff. But nonetheless, I would like to see that easement agreement that's signed by both parties and the terms and the scope of the agreement of that easement. That's what I would like to see.
And I'm just going to say one more thing and then I'm finished, and I'll bow out of it. But I strongly suggest you, as far as the deck and so forth, that you get paperwork from the county on that. That'll end the any kind of an argument whether or not you have to have a permit.
Well, and I don't know if to take that as a threat or if take that as a promise or whatever, but
yeah,
I could revert it back to you, and I strongly suggest that you get the proper legal documentation of the right-of-way that's recorded with the county to prove that you have access to your property, because I know I do, and it doesn't mention anywhere of the sort. So therefore, like I said, I'm trying to be civil over the matter. I've dotted all my T's and crossed all my I's and crossed all my T's, and like I said, I come up with a solution. I know it's not something that's great or anything, but I have provided. And like I say, going over across 4 different properties to get to yours may have worked when there wasn't permanent structures and there wasn't anything to do with any property at the time. I understand that completely, but now, like I said, the times have changed. There's new landowners, and therefore, there's and what's exactly the intent that you want to use for your property? Do you want to pitch a tent, have a picnic there, or do you want to have a trailer? What exactly is your intent that you need this access for, basically? And I know my intent. What I have is I got a permanent structure and development and everything that I've invested well over $15,000 in time and effort to do so. And so, like I said, I feel like I'm well within my means, both legally and civilly. And I hope the board acts as a mediator and can side with me with that.
That's why my first question was, when you came to me, Mike, is there an agreement recorded anywhere stating that the crowd have access through there? And it doesn't appear there is anything like that. And it probably was a fine gentleman's agreement for a lot of years, but I don't think the deck size is going to be a relevant thing here. It's all on Brandon's property. Everything's within his property. It's inconvenient now that some things are changing over the years, but it seems like the logical idea. Just get the access through the neighbor above a quick little access through their property, and sounds like that's the best way to go to me.
Can I insert something here? I
Absolutely.
wish we had a quorum of the board here. It's important that we attend these meetings. I had hoped that we could put this to rest today. But we really can't have a vote because we don't have a quorum. But I would like to know the opinion of each of the board members that are here. And then perhaps what we could do is ask for, let me explain the situation to the rest of the board that's there and ask them to vote in absentia of what they would do. So let me go through those that are here. Dennis, would you have Brandon remove his deck, or is he within his rights to what he's done? If this had come to the board for a vote when he was putting, it should have come. We've screwed up as an association. It should have come to a vote of the board. We need a majority vote. Would you have supported the deck at that time?
Yeah, I believe I would have.
Okay.
I wouldn't be for him to have to remove it now.
Okay.
That's kind of where I'm at.
Rick?
Absolutely not remove the deck, and I would support what he's done, and it's all on his property. The only thing in question is access. And personally, if I've got a deck there and my trailer there, I wouldn't want people driving around me, when I'm up there camping, all on my own property.
Yeah.
So I don't want to ruffle anybody's feathers either, but looking at this logically, I just think Brandon's in the right on this.
Okay. Roger?
I'll make it real simple. I agree with the other two.
All right. Okay, do I have permission from those of you who are here to see if I can get a vote from those that aren't here?
Absolutely.
Yes.
And
then I will communicate that to Travis and to Brandon when we get here. Now,
you're recording all of this, correct?
yes.
So they can see the whole transcript of everything. That's perfect.
Yeah. I'm going to make a statement here, and maybe it's unfair for me to do this, but as the secretary, I serve at the benefit of the president. We don't have a president. I was appointed by the president. So was Gary Newford, the treasurer. But in absence of a president, I'm going to say shame on the association that we did not get any paperwork or any opportunity to know what was going on here back when this was all being placed. And because of that, I'm going to suggest that I don't know that we should pay for anything, but I think we ought to be a mediator at where this access comes from and help the Crowthers gain another access to their property. And I believe that we should be the ones who maybe talk with the Bensons and bring the Bensons and the Crowthers together if that's the best place. I'm not sure it is. I drive that road a ton, but I know it's pretty steep where Crowthers is. We used to be able to get cell service just above on that road. We're on Crowther's property, but it is a sharp drop off there. To get a convenient access to the property, we're going to have to engage another landowner. And I think we ought to be the ones who make that contact with Benson's and help facilitate that with the Crowthers. Now, unless you turn me off, that's what I would like to present as a solution this evening, if you can agree with that, those of you that are here.
I would ask both of the folks here from their properties if they agree with that too.
Okay.
As mentioned, I would definitely agree with what I stated, coming from the Bensons as you know, when you drive that, that's the flattest part of Quakey Lane. And it's, again, my opinion, would be the less expensive way to excavate, if any at all, because like I said, I personally have drove that with a side-by-side, accessing it from hunting. And you can access off of Quakey Lane directly through that deep into Mr. Crowther's property with that at all, without even widening or removing anything. The only thing is obviously there is a little bit deadfall here and there from that microburst or whatever that happened years ago and stuff. But that would be what I would suggest if I was a landowner in Crowther's shoes, as mentioned, because you're right, Mr. Gailey, that it is a little steeper off the Quakey Lane on the downhill side on the west side, but the east side is not. The east side is not as critical, where you know, again, if he'd like to post up some of his own cost to provide excavation to cut in, but again, it just all depends on what intent that Mr. Crowther has for his property, whether he's just wanting a nice flat area for a tent, or if he's wanting to do anything to have it with a trailer access to park a trailer or something that's that would take into consideration as well. But again, in my opinion, I would definitely agree with the solution to get a hold of Mr. Benson.
Travis?
Your mic's muted, Travis. There you go.
Yeah, I don't agree that I should have to spend money when I've already spent money going straight across into my property that was already excavated. When I purchased it, I had a 12-foot blade cat in there to improve that road going back in there. And now you're asking me to do it again?
Hey, Mike. I like your diplomatic approach to this. And if we can facilitate something with Benson, between Benson's and Crowther's, by all means, we should do that. But Benson's aren't going to have any, you know, we can't tell Benson's, hey, you must do this, or, you know, this is what it has been in the past. We'd like to see this. If it's okay with you, I'm totally good with that. But and Benson's might be just fine with it. And again, it sounds like Crowthers don't want to spend any money even going in from Benson's. And there is no legal document anywhere to support continuing what they're doing or what they have been doing, and it's a bad deal. It's a bad deal.
One of you said that you go through somebody else's property through a locked gate to get to yours, but you don't have a legal document to do so. I don't remember.
That's me, Roger McFarland.
Like making him cut a new road.
And so what'd be the difference of you cutting a new road in?
Well, that's why we have this particular access, because there's really no other way to come in without coming down a very steep hill to get into our property. And so it's just settled. It's settled. Like I say, this is grandfathered. This access was grandfathered in, basically.
So mine wasn't.
I don't know. I don't know your situation, but I think here's my opinion on the whole situation with you and Taylor. Listen, we as a group, like Mike said, have some responsibility to help make this easier as easy as we can on both parties. And if it costs us a little bit of money, I'm not opposed to that as one of the board members.
You know, I would like to, is this, Nate, are you on now?
Yeah, I'm on right now.
Okay,
We're just heading home.
Awesome.
We have a quorum then. Let me bring you up to date. But
Okay.
what I need to say, and I hope I don't want this to mean we're all volunteers, and I don't want it to be critical of anybody. But we should have had this discussion as a board back when it cleared the planning committee so that we could have averted this kind of discussion. There is some mud on our face as a board, as an association, because this would have been much simpler to deal with back at that point in time. And I think because we messed up a little bit and we were broken in what we did, I think we need to be involved in helping the Crowthers find a different access. And like Roger said, maybe participating a little bit in it, because this all could have been avoided had we had our ducks lined up and we'd seen something from the board. The first time I knew of this, and I keep all the minutes, was when Travis's son called me and said, I've got some pictures. That was the first thing I knew. I thought the trailer and the deck and everything was Crowthers, because you don't pay attention to something that's not happening on your own lot. So, Nate, what we need, we're glad you're here, because we have a full complement. We have a quorum of the board, and Dennis and Rick and Roger have all agreed that we don't want the Taylors to remove their deck and take it down. Do you agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay. So that being said, what we would like to do is we would like to approach the whole board, and maybe at our next meeting. Might be getting too late for Crowthers to do anything. Are you planning on doing anything this year, Travis?
Say that again.
But I don't.
We were, but I mean, it may be in the spring with everything.
No, we can call the board together and see financially what we can do to help you provide that. If you would like us to do that, our next board meeting is in November. If you are planning on doing something, we'd invite you back to that November board meeting, and if you could come with a proposal of where you think that ought to be, so that we have something to act upon, that would be good.
My problem is, Mike, is I'm dealing with cancer right now. And I just don't want to leave my kids with a big mess, but I have somewhat of an idea. You mentioned to me that
Have Jared go to.
Mike, no matter what's going on with my dad, I can make sure I'm there at the November meeting.
Okay.
As you include me in your, sending me the invite. Yes.
Okay. All right. Because if you could, and your name was Jared.
It's Jared, yeah, and I'm a contractor. My brother's a contractor as well. We can both go up there, and if we can get my dad up there, depending on his treatments, we'll get up there and we'll kind of walk some of the property.
All right. If you could bring to that November meeting a sketch plan of where you would like to enter, then we've got the board there, and we can actually take a vote among them as to whether or not we've got 4 of them here, but it would be nice to have a universal acceptance, because it is the some of this has been caused by the association, that we as a board, we didn't know what was going on with the Taylors at the time it was happening. And I'm not slamming anybody on the planning group at all. They did everything that they were supposed to do. We just didn't know what they had done. So if you, Jared, if you could get with your brother and with your father and give us a proposal where you would like to come in, then we will have that. We'll try to get the whole more of a quorum there to endorse what we're doing. So would that be okay with you, Jared?
Yeah.
Okay. All righty. Well, I think we've come to a point where we've got some resolution. Brandon, you don't need to remove anything.
Thank you. I
Okay.
appreciate everybody seeing where I see it and stuff. I definitely appreciate your time and efforts and stuff. And I also appreciate the Crothers coming to voice their concerns and stuff. I definitely feel for your dad about the cancer and everything. My old man, passed, and so I completely understand where you're coming from and stuff. Like I said, I'm not here to gain any enemies or anything. I'm just want to come up with a peaceful solution as well and everything. So I appreciate the board listening to me and my wife, and we appreciate everything you guys do.
Okay. And remember, we're all volunteers, we're all up there because we love the property. And we don't want to have a wild, wild west. You remember the shootout at the beginning? 10 years ago, 15 years ago, back in the 90s, we went to I bought the property from my father in 1994. He died in 2006. But there was some feeling that this was the wild, wild west up there and you could do anything you wanted to do. And thank goodness the board has taken a hold of that over the years. We are so grateful for Farrell Lewis. He brought a lot of changes to the association that were very, very beneficial. I am going to stay active in the association as long as I can breathe, like Travis.
Awesome.
We love the property up there. We love our neighbors. I'm glad to see your face, Brandon. I know
Likewise.
more about the Crowthers. I think it's your brother, Travis, that his wife was my chair, my front desk for years. So we know the Crowthers very well. And we want, like you all said, we don't want this to be a free-for-all, but we want to come to a solution that's equitable for everybody. And I'm glad that we got 4 members of the board here who agree that it seems like crossing 3 properties to get to a 4th is too much for an association. But we need to provide something else, and maybe we need to spend a little money in helping that. So thank you all for coming. I need the board to stay on for just a minute because I want to make sure that there isn't something else that they need to talk about. But we'd excuse you, Travis, and Brandon and your wife.
Hey, Travis, before you go, Travis, I'm real sorry to hear about the cancer, and I hope your treatment goes very well.
Well, thank you. I'm planning on that, and things are looking up, but I just don't know when my treatments will be, and so it might be Jared that'll be there at the November meeting. And I was up there the other day and took pictures of that and sent them to Mike, and I kind of have an idea of how I could cut into that because I didn't know what would happen. One of the things that I have a problem with is that I spent all that money with that cat going in there to develop that years ago. So, I hate to do that again. So, anyway.
Well, and we do appreciate the landowners like Brandon trying to make their property nicer, and, because the deck does look nice. We just want to make sure we still have a way to get into our property as well.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, and I'm grateful as well that the board, after hearing conversations and concerns and everything, me as an HOA paying fees and stuff like that, I myself as well would like to contribute to providing some extra costs to the Crothers to put a new access road in. I wouldn't hesitate with that after consideration after we've had this meeting and stuff. And so, and not to mention if we can get phone numbers, exchange phone numbers. If there's ever a time where I don't have my trailer up there or anything, and I can grant temporary access for you to go and enjoy from what you have been from the 70s and beyond. If you wanted to go up there and enjoy, if there's a time where I'm not up there, with my family or whatever stuff, I would be willing to grant you temporary access, just so we can be neighborly. Because, like I said, I don't want to create any chaos or any hurt feelings or anything like that. But I wish you the best of luck on your cancer treatments, and I bless your family as well.
I have one last thing before you leave for Brandon
Yeah.
and for Jared. There's an election coming up in March. We need volunteers to run for the board, and we need a new president. So if you really love it, come and help us.
Definitely, tempting for sure and stuff. We'll see how things go.
Okay, thanks. Thanks
But
for
I
coming.
appreciate you guys' time, and let me know if there's anything else I can do. Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. You guys take care.
Thank you, guys.
See you.
Okay, I'd like to keep the board here to see if there's anything else. We've been an hour and 45 minutes. Anything else that's really critical that we need to talk about?
Mike, I'm gonna bow out.
Okay, thanks, Neil. Wes, do you need anything? You're muted.
You're muted. Yeah. Still. You're still muted, Wes.
Still there?
No, we can't hear you, Wes.
There we
You
go.
go.
There we go. I'm on my phone, so I couldn't figure where the button was. The only thing I had was I never had a chance, and I don't know if anybody's had a chance, but there was campers parked out on the helicopter pad.
Which one?
I think it's LZ2, so it's the one right above you, Mike.
LZ2 above me.
Yep. So
That's the one out. Isn't that going out toward Schradley's? And it's not Mike's road. It's the next left turn up above Mike's road, right?
yeah. So I'm trying to remember who the other people are that are up there. There's like that red Connex up there that they're building something up
Bushman's?
there. I think so, yeah. So it's right over by theirs.
Okay.
Wilkinson's?
What we need is probably license plates.
I've only seen the trailers. I've went over there a couple times and no one's ever been up there, but they've built a fire pit and everything over there. So
Is that the one just past where you turn down to Shredley's?
I don't know who Schrader's are, honestly.
Oh, okay.
Can you look on a map and give us a lot number or a parcel number?
Yeah. If you have one.
Well, I'll send you one, and then you mark it for me.
Yeah.
I guess we could go back and I could do that for. Well, why don't you I'll send you a map, a parcel map of everything above my place, and you see if you can figure out where it was.
Okay. I think it is LZ2. I'm pretty sure it's LZ2.
Yeah, I know the one you're talking about.
Yeah, it's like just directly above you, Mike. Like
Well,
directly above yours.
That's
Going straight east.
Jenkins and Bushman.
Yeah. It's the Jenkins. I know that. That's
it?
over by theirs. Yep.
Okay. All right.
And
Well,
then
I'll give them a call and see if they know who's parking there.
Hey, Wes, how's the West Spring now?
so that was my next question. I don't know if anybody's ever heard anything back on that. So you can't assume anything, right? Well, I bought the same guts and handle and rebuild, and they're not the same. So I spent $250, and I don't think I can return. I've been trying to return these parts, and they're saying you buy them and they're yours, basically. So But they are. That south spring is 1.5 inch pipe going down, and everything else is 1.25 inches. So I luckily I took it apart and there was an O-ring missing. I had just a universal O-ring kit that I put a new O-ring on it. It wasn't the right size. It was close, but it did stop the leak. But I haven't heard anything since then. And I've been on vacation and I started my new job this week, so I haven't had a chance to really do anything with it. So
you've got some brand new guts that aren't going to be usable.
well, there'll only be for the South Spring. So, I mean, we can hold on to them unless we get issues with the South Spring and when it needs to get rebuilt again. I'm assuming they're probably going to last about 5 years is going to be my assumption on that. So
South is the only one that's different. All the others are the 1.25 inches.
Yep.
Okay. And you know what? We should be absolutely footing the bill and store that stuff. For another South Spring repair, but then get the right stuff for the 1.25 inches.
Yeah,
but if the leaks stopped, I think we're probably okay for this year anyway. I don't know.
That's kind of the way I felt about it too. And then maybe just next year we'll buy another kit. But I know Buck needs to be the next one. We've only got about 10 GPM coming out of Buck. So Buck needs to be the next one that's rebuilt. We still got about 18 GPM coming out of the West. So, I mean, yeah, we need to put the right O-ring on it. You know what I mean? So we don't have an issue further down the road. Because I think that I had to stretch that O-ring. So that O-ring is going to snap. Basically, I think after winter and it goes through a cold cycle, I think that O-ring is going to snap and we're going to have another issue in the spring with it. So, but like I said, I still got to do the research, figure out what all the parts are for the 1.25 inches. I still got to order another set, and I want to get another set for the 1.25 inches anyways. So I think it's our best interest to have a full rebuild on hand for any of the springs. So if the South has those and any of the other ones are all the same, if we ever have an issue, we're not waiting for parts. I can just get up there, get it taken care of, and then just reorder what we need and what we used.
I agree.
That's the way I look at it. So, but I did put, I think I sent some photos to Nate and Mike. I did put that new quick connect on the Buck spring overflow. So it now has a quick connect on there, and I can actually quick connect my flow meters that I've purchased right on there, and it works slick as shit. So
nice.
I kind of wanted to just play with it for the rest of this year just to make sure it doesn't plug up. But it has, I don't know, probably double, if not triple, the surface area of actual screen now. So I don't think we're going to have the issue with those things plugging up a couple times a year anymore. I think they'll be good. And my other suggestion was maybe put like some type of like Pelican box or something that I can maybe like tie to the actual pipe or something that will actually have a spring, or not a spring, sorry, a screen inside of that. So if it is plugged, somebody can just unscrew it and put the new one right on. So the new screens are actually screw-ons. They're 2-inch pipe. So they're actually pretty sweet. So
yeah. Okay.
But that's where we're at. But I will figure out all the 1.25 inch stuff and I'll get another set ordered. So I am going to go up there next weekend and get flows and samples for September. So that'll be next weekend, and then I'll get the samples and we'll report on that once I get the answer.
Okay. Rick, do you have anything?
Yeah. Do you remember the discussion you and I had about the license plate number I got?
Yes.
I've talked to a deputy up here, and no, we can't do that. It's Privacy Act, and it's a U.S. code law. Can't do that. I also got online. I thought I could get it online, and I called because I said, hey, what I'm looking for specifically is a name. And they said, no, we can't give out the names, but we just can show when the ownership was transferred and how many times, but no names. You don't get any of that. So we can't get any names unless somebody has a real good buddy in law enforcement somewhere that could run a plate for us. And for the rest of you guys, I caught somebody going out the Ant Flat gate and leaving it wide open. And I chased him down the Ant Flat road a ways. He wouldn't stop. I tried to stop him. He wouldn't stop. But I got his plate number. I know what the truck looks like. It's a brown Chevy Silverado 2005. And that information I can get without even having to pay for it. But no names. Can't get a name. So we're just going to, I think we're going to have to just watch. We see that truck again and then corner him up at his place. Try not to get shot.
Be careful.
Yeah, but the guy, and it's an older guy. He just, he ain't gonna lock the gates. He just left and left her wide open, the Ant Flat gate, and that's the kind of crapola we're trying to stop.
Yeah, we don't want that at all.
No, we and eventually we'll find out unless he sells the truck sometime soon. But I'm kind of doubting that. I say doubt. He's an older guy, and I guess he just doesn't want to follow the rules, But I'll load the truck again when I see it, and unless Mike, ex-mayor, you got any connections with law enforcement?
I did have, but the chief of police just retired.
Oh, okay.
But my grandson's going into police work, but that'll be a couple of years.
Yeah. Well, I've kept that plate number, and when I pulled the plate number without having to pay anything, it says, 2005 Chevy Silverado, and it's that's because I wrote down. I said it was around early 2000 Chevrolet truck, and that's exactly what pulled up. So I know I got the plate right. So I've got the plate number, and we see him up there. We can
Send me that plate number. I might be able to ask my neighbor if there's a cop in her family, and I can maybe see if he can get me any information.
Nice. Okay, hold on. I can get it for you real quick here.
Okay.
Dennis, do you have anything?
I don't have.
Okay, Nate. It is A as in Apple, 48, 9, V as in Victor, R as in Raymond. A48 9VR.
You want to text me that? I'm driving right now. We're almost home, but
yeah,
we had a yummy wedding dinner at Rodizio Grill for my niece. So
okay,
I'm so late getting on.
You know what, Nate? I'm not sure that I have your phone number. Have you texted me before?
Yeah, I think so. I'll text you. I'll text you.
Yeah, text me and then I'll just return it and send it to you.
Okay.
Sure, be nice if we could get a name and make this easy. And then, so Mike, I don't know that have we got teeth anywhere in the bylaws that say this is what a fine's going to be for
we have a nuisance policy.
I thought we said something up for like first or second offense for leaving gates open or something.
Yeah. Do we have a set fee schedule somewhere?
Yes.
Perfect. And I think we need to do it. If we can get the guy's name and find out who it is, I think we just need to do it. Because that's the way this stuff's going to stop. This stuff is going to stop. Yeah.
Nate, do you have anything?
I do not, but I do have a quick question. So there's a cabin right below ours. It's the Graham cabin. I'm not sure what the lot number is, but they've not been up there for like many years, and I'm hearing that their cabin is overrun with rats, and it's just condemned basically. The door is like unlocked as well, I've heard from my brother. Is there anything we can do to reach out to him, or I don't know what their plan is, or if anyone even goes up there in their cabin, but it's just infested with rats, I've heard though.
Well, you are water and health.
Yeah.
Call them.
Okay. I will give him a call.
Give him a call.
Yeah.
Roger, do you
I
have
don't
any more?
Excuse me, I'm sorry. No, I think we covered it pretty good. I don't have anything from the development committee unless, no, I don't have anything from them yet. Do you want Kevin and Neil to be at that next board meeting?
Yes, I think it would, you know, at least a representative,
Okay.
or Neil. Is
Okay.
Neil still associated with it?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
He was on tonight,
Yeah.
and he's still part
Yeah,
of it.
I called Neil and invited him.
Good. All right. Well, that's all I've got. I
Okay.
think we did the best we could with the two with Taylor and oh, the other gentleman's name.
Crowther.
Crowther. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we did the best we could at this point.
Yeah.
I sent that to you, Nate. I looked at.
Okay.
But
Awesome.
thank you anyway, Mike, for all your effort.
You're welcome.
Yeah, Mike, you're a good diplomat.
Everybody go to bed. I'm going home.
Amen.
Amen.
I move that we close this meeting.
Okay, have a second?
Second it.
I second it.
Go home, go to bed.
Thanks, you guys.
Bye. See you
Hey,
later.
guys.
See-